Well, you knew where I'd be for this one, didn't you? 27-20 loss against UCLA. Nebraska loses a game in which they could, again, have gotten bowl eligibility against a team that we were favored by, between 6 and 10 points. And yet we let them come into Memorial Stadium, our home, and get a, 27-7 lead at one point, something like that. I don't know. I don't care. It's a loss either way. I mean, Nebraska made some kind of valiant effort at coming back, but you have to, listen, you look at the beginning of this game, and you got to wonder, if you go back like 2 or 3 weeks, and you look at Indiana, and we get destroyed. And that's kind of what's happening with Indiana. They're destroying people this year. And in a certain way, you got to go, okay, well, we ran into a juggernaut. Shit happens. But that game blew up all the goodwill that, I said this at the time, that game blew up all the goodwill that Matt Rule had built. And then you go into Ohio State, and you play them tough, and it's a little bit of a moral victory. And everybody's kind of like, well, if they can play that way for the rest of the season, we could win some more games. And then you come into this game, and it's like the defense, I don't know, thought they accomplished something against Ohio State, so they decided not to show up until the second half. And I have no idea what we're doing anymore. Because, let's give UCLA some credit. Their quarterback made some plays. They made some plays on offense. They did a good job on offense. What we did was not a damn thing on offense. And I have no idea what we're doing on offense. I don't think anybody else does either. And you're looking at a team, out of breath because I'm angry. What were we, 5-3 last year? And then now we're 5-4. We didn't win a game for the rest of the season. Last year we went 5-7. And this year, honestly, right now, it looks like we're not going to win another game for the rest of the season. Not with this offense. Because we're not doing anything productive. We're not going anywhere. We don't seem to have plays. We don't seem to, number one, know who we are or what we're doing. We don't seem to be able to move the ball down the field. We don't seem to have bread and butter plays that we would run all the time that gain yardage depending upon the situation we're in. And I that's the core problem with this team. Dylan Raiola got hurt at the end of this game. We'll see if he's able to play anymore or if he comes back. Heinrich Hargenberg stepped in, and you know what he did? He threw the ball down the field, but keep in mind, UCLA was moving to more of a prevent defense that prevented us ultimately from winning. Here's what I really think about this. Nebraska has a bye week. We have 2 weeks before we play USC. And you know what would be a good time to do with those 2 weeks? Is to fire your fucking offensive coordinator and get a new one. Because the NCAA rules changed so we could hire as many analysts as we want. So I don't know how many analysts they got and how many coaches they have. One of them should be able to come up with a competent and fairly simple offense that can move the ball down the field. And when they get to the red zone, figure out plays how they can actually score without taking 15 minutes to do it. You sit at the 5-yard line. It takes you 23 plays to get into the end zone if you even get in the end zone. And I mentioned this last week against Ohio State. It's like they seize up and they don't know what to do. And you watch them when they're trying to run a fast offense, and they wait and they wait, and they just literally are so incompetent on offense. When you're trying to move fast on offense, you should have, 1 or 2 play calls, 2 ahead, 3 ahead, that you already know what you're going to do. And we obviously don't do that. It's like we're sitting on the toilet and we're trying to call plays. And we're just taking our time. We'll get this in. We're at the point now where Matt Rule's going to have to make a change. Because you cannot go into next season. I don't care if we end up 7-5 or whatever the hell it is. 8-4 even maybe, if there's a miracle. You can't go into next season, I don't think, with this offensive coordinator, Marcus Satterfield, because nobody's going to have faith in this. I think Dylan Raiola has regressed through the season when you're watching other teams like UCLA, like Minnesota. Minnesota beat Illinois today. And they look like they're playing football much better than they were at the beginning of the season. Are we playing better football than we were at the beginning of the season? Sure as hell not on offense. You could argue we're playing better teams, but that argument falls flat. I honestly think right now you need to make a change. The coaching business is tough. I don't even know why I'm saying that. It's not that tough. I think Marcus Satterfield is getting $1.5 million a year. He gets fired. Boo-hoo! I might be fired next week. I'm sure as hell not getting $1.5 million a year. Nobody's going to feel sorry for me either. None of you are going to have any sympathy if you get fired next week for something. You could at least just demote the guy because nothing is happening here. One of the guys in Slack on our team said that people were leaving in the middle of the third quarter. And I was at my friend's house, and we left in the third quarter. So I missed part of this game, driving home for about 45 minutes, looking at my phone to watch the plays, which was dumb, when I could have just checked out. And I hope a lot of you just checked out, because what I felt sitting at my friend's house is getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And I just thought, I don't need to watch any more of this right now. And I don't need to fill their house up with that kind of angry negativity, even though they just lost to Penn State. At least they're still going to be in the top 10, and they're probably going to make the college football playoff. That's the difference between them and us. I don't get how the defense can go 1 week playing really good, and the next week not showing up, and then playing good, and then not showing up. And I get sometimes on offense, the UCLA did some weird things that probably confused the hell out of our quarterbacks. But, when that happens, when you have defensive linemen standing up at the line of scrimmage and moving around, you should have 3 or 4 plays that all your offensive players know that when shit like this happens, these are our bread and butter plays. This is what we're going to run when that happens. And your quarterback doesn't have to be confused. He doesn't have to go, I don't know what to do now, or be confused by what's going on in the backfield or the secondary. You just look at him and go, well, okay, you're screwing with us like that? Here's what we're going to do. And we're going to run those plays that are bread and butter plays. But we don't have those plays, do we? I don't know what else to say about this game. Dylan Royale was 14 of 27 for 177 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, quarterback rating of 111. Heinrich Haarberg was 2 of 7 for 32 yards. He only got into the game for a little bit. 38.4 rating, obviously not good. I think what Heinrich looked like is he at least had really not that much fear in throwing the ball down the field. And you could argue that his receivers should have caught some of those balls, should have fought for him a little harder. It's probably the same problem Dylan Raiola has sometimes. You got to figure out, if you're Matt Rule, are you going to win one more game out of the next 3? And it doesn't matter how you do it. If you need to line Heinrich Haarberg up and run option plays for the rest of the season, then you damn well figure out how to do that. All this shit about process, that's neat. Well, your process better be good enough to figure out one more win this season. I don't know what's going to happen if we don't have one more game. Nobody's going to have faith in Matt Rule. He doesn't get to make the podcast circuit like he's done the last 2 years, at least not for Nebraska. And if you go into next year with Marcus Satterfield still as your offensive coordinator, you're not only the dumbest shit alive, but I don't know anybody who's going to have faith in anything you're doing. So your process can get tossed out the window. I'm really trying hard not to be incredibly profane right now. Got to figure out one more win. That's it. However you do it. If you line Ty Robinson up at fullback and run ISO plays straight up the middle for the rest of the season, if it gets you a win, I don't give a shit about your process. I have a live show on Monday night. On Monday night, I'm probably not going to be talking about this game or not. We'll probably, it's Monday night therapy, so we'll probably spend the first part of it talking about this game. But then we're going to talk about volleyball, because volleyball is actually good. They swept Wisconsin. They're fun to watch. They know what they're doing on offense and defense. And they have a tough November coming up, and that November is probably going to come down to Penn State to win the Big Ten championship. So tune in Monday night, and I guess, put everybody on blast, I think, on Twitter and social media. I don't see why you wouldn't after this game. And probably stay on social media because it'll be healthier if you do so. God, this is exhausting. You'd swear to God that trying to score points with this offense, we're going to colonize Mars before we figure that out. We're going to find wormholes to travel clear across the universe before we figure out how to win one more game to get to a bowl game. All those things seem like they're better possibilities than us winning another game, don't they, right now? John Johnston. There is no hope. Fuck everything. Go Big Red. See, this damn thing doesn't even work either.